Moving over to the Michigan Wolverines, and they did what everyone thought they should do against a Colorado State team that has a new coach, new quarterback, new everything, and just not ready to be at the level that Michigan is performing at. And Michigan ran all over them, 51-7. I say ran all over them because they literally did run all over them. Cade McNamara was quite disappointing this past week, 9 for 18, just 136 yards, and 61 of those 136 yards came on a screen. So really, can you give those 61 yards to the quarterback? I don't think so. I think you give that to the man who caught the ball and did all the work afterwards. So if you really want to look at it, realistically, 9 for 18 for 75 yards is it's not good. It's not good, Ryan, for a quarterback to be putting up numbers like that, especially when he is still technically in a battle for his position.
It's not, and he came out after the game and basically said the decision by the coaching staff to split up the week 1 and 2 starts was unexpected, which is not something you want, your captain to come out and say. And I think most people have surmised, and I've done the same thing, that maybe the quarterback competition was a little bit too much in Cade McNamara's head. No, he came out, he had 2 really bad passes early, and then he had the thing, it should have been picked. It wasn't, it dropped. I know Eric All fell on the play, but it was still, I still don't think it would have been completed. I still think it was a bad pass, even if All is, finishes his route cleanly or completes his route cleanly, I guess. And yeah, he looked bad. It didn't help that JJ came in and looked really good running the ball. I know he threw the ball 4 times for 30 yards. But again, he only threw it 4 times, but we know when he ran the ball, he was really effective. He had the touchdown run, 3 rushes for 50 yards. So he looked good. Harbaugh came out after the game and said he was electric. Then, I guess to be fair to Harbaugh, he came out and he said he thought Cade played really well. I don't know how he could think that, but Cade started really bad, and then he kind of settled down and played okay after that. And I think he started 1 for 6, and he finished 9 for 18. So he would have had to go 8 for his next 12, essentially against a really bad team, right? Let's say, call it what it is. Colorado State, really bad team. And for Colorado State, they just didn't have a shot against the Michigan defensive line. I know we talked about Michigan State had 7 sacks. Michigan at least had 7, and it seemed like they were racking them up, honest to God, every other play, because there are guys that are in the backfield every single time that Colorado State went to drop back to pass, and they passed a lot because they're, an air raid offense. But if you're not giving your quarterback time to throw the ball, then you're not going to get much in terms of the air, because he's just not going to be able to get the ball out of his hands. So it was super impressive performance from the Michigan defense. And even though the Michigan offense scored 51 points, maybe 44, there might have been a pick 6 in there. But, even if they scored 40, 50 points, whatever it was, I still think the Michigan offense had some things that they could have improved on. Obviously, the quarterback play, and we'll see next week against Hawaii what JJ is able to do. And, we'll talk about that on our next show on Friday. But I don't know. I think there's something that's a little bit, to be desired as well. They looked better than Michigan State did against bad competition, but I think their competition was also worse, but they were still able to really just enforce their will.
Yeah, defensively, there was a touchdown on Michigan. It was a fumble recovery for touchdown. They did the same thing Michigan State did. They had 7 sacks. They had an interception. They had a fumble. They took theirs for the touchdown. Defensively, yeah, they looked fantastic. They were just getting all over the place. Clay Millen, a redshirt freshman, he actually completed a lot of his passes. They just didn't do much with them. But, he was 16 for 20. So he was completing his passes, had a touchdown, had to pick that touchdown at the end of the game, basically to keep it, or not the very end of the game, but close enough where it kept it from being a shutout. That Michigan defense was all over the field. Again, it's a
How
good.
many yards, though? Because wasn't that 16 for like 80 yards or something?
137 yards. So,
maybe I looked at it before the last run.
yeah.
But I know there was one point I looked, and he was, I think, 12 of 15 for like 60 yards.
Yeah.
I was like, Jesus.
Yeah, there wasn't anywhere to go. The Michigan defense completely owned that game, as they should have. And I agree with you. Colorado State, not a good team right now. It's a whole new everything, and that doesn't turn out to be good usually when it's your first year trying you with a new head coach. You bring in your transfer quarterback from where he was the backup where you just were. Norvell was at Nevada, brought him with him from Nevada to Colorado State. They had Carson Strong last year in Nevada. So Clay Millen was not getting any playing time really with Carson Strong out on the field. So you have knew everything, and Michigan did what they're supposed to do. There was a reason it was a big spread. They covered that big spread. They were dominant defensively. They were dominant rushing the ball. Blake Corum, 13 carries for 76 yards and a touchdown. Donovan Edwards, 12 carries for 64 yards and a touchdown. Adding that along with what you said JJ McCarthy did as well. Michigan rushed for 230-plus yards, 4 touchdowns. So that offensive line, which did win the Joe Moore Award last season for best O-line in the nation, they created the holes, and their running backs hit those holes. Their quarterbacks hit the holes. And they were able to really control the game on the ground. They controlled the game defensively. And, yeah, getting back to what we talked about with JJ McCarthy and Cade McNamara, when we talked about it the first time, I kind of compared it to what we saw with Boyle and Blau. Now, this is a different situation. Obviously, these guys are fighting to start in college, not be a backup in the NFL. But when you know that competition is going on in the game that you are playing, sometimes that pressure gets to you. Boyle looked terrible. He was supposed to start the whole first half of that last game against Pittsburgh, and exactly what ended up happening here in the Michigan game kind of ended up happening in the Lions game, where Dan Campbell said, I don't know about this, and they threw in Blau. JJ, I think Cade got the entire first half of the game, right? I don't think JJ came in until the second half.
And I think JJ came. I think it was a play.
Right.
I think it was a read option, and he ended up handing the ball.
Yeah, but not actually taking over for Cade.
So if I remember correctly,
you're putting a lot of pressure on these two guys who know they're fighting for this spot. I think it's hard if, no matter how much Cade should be the starter in Jim Harbaugh's mind, because team captain, led them to the Big Ten championship last year, all that stuff, and he looks apparently fantastic in practice. But in the game, he didn't look that good. And JJ just flat out looked better. And now JJ's going to get his chance with Hawaii. And if JJ goes out there in the first half and he throws for, 3 touchdowns and runs for 2 more, how do you possibly give this job to Cade McNamara?
Well, I mean, then I think, again, you have all of last year that these guys went. You had the practices with, I know Cade, again, in his post-game interview, said, I thought I had my best camp and my best spring, whatever it was. And that was backed up by other people who had seen Michigan practices there. Like, hey, Cade looks better than JJ. And we talked about it last week when we were discussing the quarterback competition. Like, if Cade just has a bad day at the office, does just lose the job for the season now? Like, I don't know that is necessarily so fair. But, you also have to put up or shut up. And we didn't think Cade would struggle at all against Colorado State, just like we don't think JJ is going to struggle at all against Hawaii. But yeah, man, it might be, I think there's certainly push in the media among the fan base for JJ, and he reposted or reshared that thing on Instagram that's talking about let go of your ego, that little cartoon illustration. So I don't know what's going on over there, but it would seem like I think JJ kind of knows he's on the heels of Cade right now, and I think there's a legitimate chance that he can win the job if he puts up numbers against Hawaii. And, I'm sure Cade will come in the second half. But if it's anything like it was against Colorado State, where Michigan is up, 30 at halftime, then are they just going to have Cade come in and hand the ball off like they did with JJ? Because JJ only threw 4 passes. And Cade obviously isn't the athlete that JJ is. He doesn't possess that skill set to run the ball 3 times from 50 yards. So if Cade comes in against the second half against Hawaii, what's he going to do? Are they going to stick with their game plan and just run the ball? I kind of think they will. So then when he comes in, what are you going to do? What's the point of even bringing him in there if you're not going to let him, try and win the job back, with his arm?
Yeah, now you're throwing more pressure on JJ, because instead of just going out and winning the football game, it's I've got to go out and outperform the other guy that has the same position I'm fighting for and win the football game. And so now it's more pressure on the kid. He might be, trying to do things that he shouldn't normally do, wouldn't normally do when he's thought of just trying to get the job done. Now it's get the job done and be exceptional while getting the job done, so that I make it no question that I need to be the starting quarterback going forward. We will see how JJ responds to this, obviously, with the Hawaii game coming up this weekend. We will preview that on our next show.
Hey, Ryan Griffin here. Thank you so much for watching today's episode of Griffin and Bass. Be sure to give us your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to click the bell to receive the latest notifications from DSN and subscribe for breaking news, community blogs, polls, contests, and other content.